Jesse is here. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Playing the Field, a Bachelor podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Field, the sports anchor here at WABC in New York City. Joined now, as always, by our Bachelor insider, Jen Matarese from here in New York, and Gina Sirico out there at KBC in Los Angeles, our Bachelor insider. And who better to talk Bachelor than the former contestant slash current host of the show, Jesse Palmer, who joins us now. Welcome, Jess. How are you?
Great, amazing. It's great seeing you guys again. How are we doing?
We're doing great. Great to have you back. And listen, from one sports guy to another, I got to talk sports right off the top. Your thoughts on the Super Bowl. How shocked were you to see Kansas City get dismantled the way that they did by the Philadelphia Eagles?
I think I'm just more surprised at what it looked like and how bad it was. I mean, that
Oh,
you said it a great way. That was an absolute beatdown, and it was a very important reminder, I think, to all of us fans out there. Defense still wins championships. I mean, it was amazing to me how much Philadelphia's defense absolutely dominated one of the all-time greats to ever play the quarterback position, Patrick Mahomes. Philadelphia is easily the better team. They absolutely deserve to win that game, and it wouldn't have surprised me if Philadelphia had won. I just never thought it was going to look like that. I mean, that
nobody
was dominant.
Nobody saw that coming. An all-time stunner. We saw Taylor Swift get booed last night. I think that was a first. So all kind of things that we didn't expect to see took place in New Orleans. And as we transition now to the reason why we're here, talking about our favorite franchise, one thing that people did expect to see was the upcoming season of The Bachelorette. There's a lot of chatter out there about what's going on. What light or how much light can you shed on that for us in terms of the future of that series?
Yeah, I can't get too far in depth with a lot of the creative decisions that went into that. I know it's not unprecedented for The Bachelorette not to air in the summer. I think back in 2020 and 2021, it actually aired in the fall. Listen, I'm obviously a little bit bummed myself just because I always love my interactions on that show with the lead. I love getting to meet a whole brand new cast, and I love being there to help guide people towards hopefully finding everlasting love on the show. Um, I think this. I know it's the good news is I know it's not going away. I know it's definitely coming back. And without being able to get into too much of the again with the creative decisions on it, I know that when it does, I think it's just going to be absolutely tremendous. And I feel really, really good about where the franchise is as a whole right now. Obviously, with the Golden Bachelor and the Golden Bachelorette, there's just so much that I think the franchise now is offering in a variety and so much more diversity in a lot of different ways. So, yeah, I know once it does come back, I know Bachelor Nation will be really, really excited.
So you kind of touched on it. Like everyone's a fan of the Golden franchise. Two parts here. Is part of it to make more room for the Golden series or franchise, if you will? And is the show kind of maturing with its audience in a way? I mean, I know I started watching season one, and now here we are several years later.
Several years later.
And so, I mean,
Just a
how
few.
about making room for maybe a bachelor in their 40s or maybe young 50s, something a little middle-aged.
Yeah, I think Bachelor Nation as a whole, I think, is constantly evolving, and I'm with you. I mean, gosh, it was over 20 years ago when I was the Bachelor,
Right?
and of course, as I've kind of grown, that there's been a certain fans that have sort of grown with me and I get to interact with all the time and say, I watched back when you were on, and now I love that there's a golden series because it allows me to kind of always move it along and look forward. But I think there's always new fans and new members of Bachelor Nation joining on as well for the younger generation. So I think there's plenty of Bachelor to go around throughout the course of a year, and I feel really really good, obviously, about what we've been able to add with the Golden Series and the Golden franchise for Golden Bachelor and Golden Bachelorette, and hopefully that will continue to thrive. But I know that the Bachelorette has been such a strong pillar inside the franchise, and I expect it to continue to be that. I know that when the show does come back it will continue to be that.
It's funny that you say that and you talk about the Bachelorette part of this franchise to begin with, because I feel like we have seen maybe the most success relationship wise with the Bachelorettes. Do you feel like maybe this is like a reset for the format of it? Because I do feel, I mean, is there something, anything that, like maybe like you would suggest changing? Or do you feel like there's something else at
No, I mean, I don't know if I would change a whole lot personally. And again, I mean, if it's not broken, I wouldn't fix it. And I would agree with what you said. There, we've seen tremendous success with a lot of the relationships on that show. For me too, I think that there are a lot of really deserving women out there that deserve to have their chance to find love, and they deserve to have their story told. I think we should continue that. There are so many, you think back to incredible cast members throughout the years on the Bachelor franchise that then got an opportunity on The Bachelorette, and it was able to flourish for them. And I know that'll continue to happen in the future as well.
That I've always wanted to ask you, and you've done a wonderful job making a seamless transition into the host of this show. But behind the scenes, do you have a say in what goes on? Can you offer up suggestions, maybe like editorial control? Do they say, hey, Jesse, what do you think of this? Do the producers keep you in the dark on certain things so you can have your own natural reaction when they happen? I guess I just want to know, like, how hands-on are you behind the scenes of the show?
Yeah, one thing I really appreciate working on the show is I feel like with the producers and our executives, it's very, very inclusive. And I think they're always willing to sort of let me in on what's happening, but also they're willing to listen to opinions. I think I bring an interesting perspective, having been on the show,
Right?
now hosting the show. And I think everybody involved has really always had an open door policy. I personally love to know what's happening myself. It's not just in filming, when we're filming dates or when we're at rose ceremonies or when we're traveling, but a lot of it is in the off season as well, when it comes to casting and when it comes to date ideas and when it comes to locations, all that kind of thing. It's like a quarterback in his playbook. I just
play?
love to be in it, and I just devour it. And I feel like there probably are a lot of other situations where there's a clear delineation between we're kind of over here planning everything. You're the host. You stay over here. You just show up and you just do your part, and then we'll see you after the final rose ceremony. That hasn't been the case at all. I'm really, really thankful and appreciative of our producers and our executives, both at ABC and at Warner, for always allowing me to have a say. I care about the franchise so much. I want it to be successful. I just care about the people. And I think once you work with them and you're filming these shows, you become invested. I think just like people at home that are watching the shows. So I really want this to be a happy experience for everybody involved. But we owe it, I think, to our fans. I've said this with you guys all along too. Bachelor Nation it's a special, special fan base. They're passionate, they're demanding, and it's our job to really serve them with a great show and great stories, and hopefully a lot of love. And so I just try to do my part in that. And everybody from producers to executives, everyone on our crew has really, really always been very accommodating of that for me.
So, that said, do you have a favorite show to host among this franchise? Is there one that you just like, yes, it's here. I'm excited to dive into this one. I mean, and if so, like what is it that you love about it? And is there something that you wish you could get rid of, maybe, and something you might not enjoy?
This is like asking him to
Yeah,
pick his favorite kid. I mean, this
Well,
is a tough
that's right.
question
Well,
here.
listen, there
but there's
are there
something
are
you
parents out there
appreciate
that say you're
about.
lying if you
Yeah.
say you don't have a
Yeah,
favorite
right,
kid out there.
exactly.
Every parent's like, I love all of them. You're lying.
Mine take turns.
No, like I've been doing this 4 years now. I'm like into my fourth year doing this, and I don't know if I have necessarily a favorite yet. I think I love each for different reasons. Again, to me, the secret of this whole thing is the cast always. So I always appreciate whether it's The Bachelor, The Bachelorette. Um, I love Paradise because it's sort of like a reunion.
Mhm.
Um, And I've loved the Goldens because I feel like I learn more than I'm taught. If that I'm taught more than the advice I give. I feel like on some of the other shows, I'm usually trying to be there as counsel. And I feel like so far in my experience, at least through one Golden Bachelor and one Golden Bachelorette, I've learned a lot about not just love, but I think being a husband, being a father, and all those things as well. It's all been really, really exciting for me so far. If we do this again in a couple of years, and I've got a few more of these under my belt, I promise I'll give you like I'll have like a solid answer.
I'm gonna
I'm not
hold you
gonna,
to
I'm not
it.
gonna give you like the Canadian sit on the fence. Everybody's great answer.
Let's get to this Bachelor because Grant came in. I mean, the fanfare around him becoming the Bachelor was huge. Tens of thousands of people, applied to be on his season, and we've got this group. Talk to me about, you talked about, for you, how you work with each lead. Tell me how you and Grant have kind of leaned on each other through this season.
Yeah, Grant and I hit it off pretty fast. I think our sports background probably was a real common denominator, which sort of helped that. Grant's, he's really easy to talk to. He's really passionate. He loves asking me questions about football. I love asking Grant questions about basketball, and that was kind of something we were kind of joking with each other with throughout the course of the show. But the more I got to talk to Grant off camera, just the more and more layers I saw. I think people at home watching his season, I think that's going to continue to develop and happen. I think you'll see a lot more of the layers peel off to kind of find out more about who he is. One of the things I love the most about Grant is he's really empathetic. He's got an emotional side to him, but he cares about other people. Um, which is something that I really that really attracts me to him is just that I think he's a very, very good human being. I think the thing about Grant too is he's really intentional about this. He took this and is taking this really, really seriously. It matters to him. I think Grant understands the opportunity. um I think Grant's figuring out pretty quickly how difficult this is becoming, and it's going to get for him. um, but that's not something that's lost on Grant. I think he spends probably more time thinking about it. I'd argue Grant probably focused as much on his journey and really was in it and thinking about it and analyzing it probably as much as any lead that we've had since I've been hosting the show. So I know this is really important to him. I know this matters to him. He really wants to find his person. And so throughout filming with Grant, he was a pure joy to be around. And obviously every lead that we've had in the Bachelor franchise since I've been hosting, I've gotten along with great. Grant is absolutely no exception. And I think the cast of women are outstanding,
It's
really,
definitely
really impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely been fun to watch these ladies interact, and I guess that begs the eternal question. You, as someone who was not only on the show, but as you said, have hosted this show for 4 years, does it still shock you that women, when they get one-on-one time with The Bachelor, they still want to talk about the other women, and they don't want to talk about their relationship with The Bachelor? It's like there's such a strategy component to this. You being a former athlete, professional athlete, you know about that. The goal is to win the competition. So I don't understand why these women continue to spend time talking about other women when they have the one-on-one time with The Bachelor.
I ask myself that question every single season as I'm watching offset. I'm just watching off camera. I'm going, why are you using this opportunity to talk about this? It's like it's one of the commandments of the show. It's like you have to, I tell them every time, take advantage of your opportunities. You don't know when they're going to come. You don't know how long they're going to be. You have to capitalize and make every moment count. I will say though, because and this is probably just the Libra in me, always seeing things from both sides. I do believe it is within everybody's right to express how they feel. And if something's bothering them, they should be allowed to talk about that. Now, we can all argue the timing of that, when's appropriate, who do you have those conversations with? But again, I have to remind myself too sometimes these are human beings. and they are in this brand new world, and they're going through this crazy show and this crazy experiment, and nobody knows how to prepare for it. And until you're actually in it, I can tell you this just from experience, having been in it. When you're actually in it, you emotionally are faced with things that you never thought you would be, and you just deal with it the best you can in those situations. And I think, hindsight's always 2020. It's always easy to look back and go, that was terrible. But in the moment, I promise you, it feels like the right thing to do sometimes. And it's amazing. It's such, as a host of the show, and I think as a fan of the show, when I get to watch it back, like on Mondays when I'm watching like everybody else, it's just such an interesting study in just human behavior every single season and all the different shows. And that to me is one of the most fascinating parts, because you're right, that is a conundrum that I think will be taught, like that will always happen as long as the show is on air.
One of the things that I loved in this latest episode was when the Golden Men showed up for prom. Oh my gosh, it was like a breath of fresh air.
Yes, it was.
And it kind of, I mean, what did that say to you that like on Joan's season, they had such a great time. They had such a nice prom. And then amongst this group, it was prom from hell. Like what happened here?
Yeah, well, first off, it's always great to see some familiar faces
Mhm.
from Joan's season. Um, Gary, Jonathan, Keith, and Jack. I mean, when they walked back in the mansion, just for me, I was sort of fanning out in the back with the producers. And I wanted to run out there, and I didn't want to be in the scene. I just wanted to kind of be out there and just kind of around them, giving them big hugs. And I found a window to do that with all four guys. But uh, I don't know how else to describe it other than I just get such great feelings every time I see those guys. And just because a big part of their story with Joan obviously was, as you mentioned, it was the love they had for one another, and it was the respect they had and how much they supported one another. It really was beautiful. Um, so yes, it's a bit of a juxtaposition when they show back up, and there's the prom, which of course they had that as a big theme of a group date on Joan's season, and this prom was a little bit different. And so, listen, they're wise, that they offer their support. I know they really helped Grant. I know that the ladies were really, really happy to see them as well. I just love that we can kind of fold, like in my holiday baking championship, if we can fold the American buttercream into with the
Yes.
Golden franchise into the Bachelor and the Bachelor. Hopefully this is something we can keep doing moving forward.
So funny, Jesse, that you talk about, folding the two kind of parts of the franchise together. We've talked about it on this podcast a lot, is that it feels sometimes like whiplash, going from like the sweet and wholesome and beautiful love stories and friendships and, supportive, relationships on the Golden franchise. And then literally like the next franchise in episode 2, episode 3, drama out the door. Like,
Yeah.
it must be like, for you being there, I mean, how does it feel to you? Does it feel as whiplashy as it does for us? For you?
It's a great question, Gina. I mean, I'm trying to be careful right now because I don't want to get to the point where I'm like predicting and expecting how it's always going to be.
Right.
I think we all sort of understand that the Golden Cast, because of their age and because of their experience, there really is a different emotional maturity
Yes.
with them. And I think a lot of them are also in a very different financial situation. There's just so many different aspects of their life that is just entirely different. I think at that age, I think you just know who you are, which I think leads to, so far what we've seen, at least through one Golden Bachelor and one Golden Bachelorette, it's the theme has been everybody supporting each other. It's super positive versus things get a little bit more chaotic a little earlier on the Bachelor and Bachelorette. But that's not to say that we're going to have a Golden Bachelor coming up or a Golden Bachelor where it may look a little bit more like what we're accustomed to seeing. I think so much of the time it comes down to who the cast actually are. I think there are generalities. I think there are things that happen based on age. But I don't want to get myself kind of caught in that box where I'm thinking, okay, Golden, this is going to be all butterflies and this is going to be great. We're just going to go in, no drama, don't have to worry about it. And then I'm getting beaten around. And then who's to say? I don't know. We're going to have a bachelor or bachelorette coming up in the near future where everything really seems copacetic. But to answer your question, Gina, yes, it's been a massive whiplash the last couple of seasons, going back and forth. And now that Paradise is coming back, it's like you're getting you that one. I can promise you, we already know it's gonna where that's what's gonna happen
We
there.
know,
So
we
it's
know.
like we can get ready for that. So yes, it's an emotional roller coaster for sure.
Well, at least we'll be going from this season to Paradise, pretty much. So we'll be ready.
We'll be
ready
warmed
for the
up.
drama.
Yeah, that's
Exactly,
right. Yeah,
exactly.
get nice and laddered through,
Nice
through
and
this
laddered.
season and get yourselves ready.
Well, listen, we always promise this is going to be the most exciting and dramatic season of The Bachelor yet, and we can only talk about what we've seen. In the trailers, we fast forward to the end. Grant is literally torn between two women as the limos are pulling up. Is this how this is going to unfold? I mean, are we in for the ultimate twist here at the end of this season? Because it's not often we see it come down to literally the last second where they don't know who they're going to choose.
Yeah, it really is going to do that, and that's not edited and that's not fabricated. That is real life, and that's the first time, at least since I've been hosting, where we encountered a situation like that, where the lead Grant was really, really conflicted in that moment. In the past, I've experienced other leads. There was some conflict going into the final day, but most of them basically kind of knew what they were going to do. They didn't want to do it. Obviously, you don't want to break anybody's heart. They were emotional because they were afraid of what they were about to do. But they all pretty much had uh, an understanding and a conviction about who they were going to pick. That is not what's going to happen on this show. And looking back on that, I've been watching the trailers for that as well. Um, I never expected to break the fourth wall. It's like, in that situation like that. But that's really kind of what where that situation went. And that was a real conversation with Grant. I mean, obviously, Grant understands the show. He understands how it works, and he understands that he has to make that decision. Um, one woman has to arrive first, and Grant really, I don't think, had he was really struggling with who he wanted that woman to be. And so, to me, from a host standpoint, that was a first, but it's very, very real. And I was talking earlier about how much how much thought he put into this. Um, you think about it and you analyze. We have a saying in football, sometimes there's paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
Sometimes you overthink things
Mhm.
and you can kind of just get in your head about stuff. And I wonder sometimes, I just know it's mattered so much to Grant. He didn't give himself any breaks. Um, we do, you'll see as the show kind of unfolds, Grant and I get to do some stuff where we, try to kind of get his mind off of it a little bit and just kind of just have fun and just kind of chill out for a second and just bro out for a minute. But he was really like it was in him at all times, and it comes to a head at the very, very end, and that's what people are going to see.
The most shocking finale ever. We can't wait, dude. It's going to be great. He is Jesse Palmer. He is your host of The Bachelor. And as a former New York football giant, we know it killed him to say the Eagles were the best team in football this season.
There's always next year.
There's always next year.
2025 officially has already started, but next year is already on. The Eagles won. That's in the past. We're looking forward.
Go Bills.
Let's go, Big Blue. We'll see what happens in 2025. I wouldn't bet on the Giants being in the Super Bowl, but stranger things.
They'll be hanging with my Dolphins in the offseason, I'm sure. It'll be great. It'll be great.
Thank you, sir.
Who's the best?
Guys.
Jesse's the best.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate you guys.
Good
Thank
stuff
you.
as
Thanks for the
always, man.
laughs.
Very insightful. We
All right,
really
man.
appreciate it.
No, you got
Thanks,
it, guys.
Jesse.
Appreciate all the great work you guys do and all the support.
We'll
We'll talk to you guys.
Yes, sir. Look forward to it, man.
See you soon.
See you guys.
Always good to have Jesse Palmer with us, and he was especially good. I loved all of his insight on the series itself, talking about The Bachelorette, kind of like he has some editorial say in the show, which I also found interesting.
It's very cool. Like, now I want to know more.
Yeah, right?
Someday the tell-all book will come out, right?
He better get us some advanced autograph copies, Gina.
Exactly. Yeah, no, first of all, it's always good to see Jesse. He always gives us some great insight and like things that we just never hear about in the in the real world here. So, always good to have him here.
Good to have him. Good to see the Bachelorette ladies in the house for one final week before they move on to traveling in the next episode. And when we had here their final episode in Los Angeles, they had a group date playing for Grant Bucks. And I thought the date was okay. I thought there were some good answers to some of the questions on the little whiteboards. But I was surprised that Parisa got the rose when it was all said and done, because I just do not see the connection there between those two. But that's just me.
She played it smart. I have to say, she put her butt in the seat next to him.
He did.
She had a little fun game with him. I don't know. I think he has fun with her. So I want to see where it goes.
And was it Dina who said the engagement ring should be 3 months' salary plus her salary for the year? And I said, wait a minute. That's a red flag, Gina. I got to say that as a guy.
It is. I think it was her, but it's also just funny that those particular answers made me laugh, because it's like, ultimately, does it matter if they get this particular, like if they end up getting a ring on this show, they're getting it for free from Neil Lane.
That's a great point.
So it doesn't matter.
And Grant, after he heard her answer to that, is very thankful that Neil Lane will be there to hand out
Yeah, exactly.
the engagement
They
ring.
always are.
What do we think of the
They
price
always
tag?
do.
Grant said $20K.
$20K? I think that's about right. Now, listen,
Yeah.
I have never bought an engagement ring before. I feel like I've been close to engagement maybe once in my life, never actually perused to go ring shopping. But I think this is a great question to the ladies here in attendance. What is a realistic ring that a man should get you? Should the size of the diamond not matter, because at the end of the day, it's how much he loves you? I mean, if I want to go down to Canal Street and get a cubic zirconia, I mean, shouldn't that count?
If that's what you can afford.
If that's what I can
And-
afford, 10 carats.
and you want to get married with that, fine. I think
But no, I'm being for real. As
I
a
think
guy,
it's the
is there a
thought.
cutoff with the engagement ring? Does it have to be a minimum carat? You're married. I mean, were you happy with the ring
I
that he
was
gets
very
you?
happy.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I had a realistic expectation.
Which was what?
At least a carat.
At least a carat. Okay, I
That's
think that's
modest,
the bare minimum. I
But
think we can all agree on
For
that.
reference, like I think my mother's was half a carat.
Well,
I
times
mean,
were different back then.
exactly. So time
We're
changed.
so much more
I feel
superficial.
like over time the rings have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and you end up sacrificing clarity and quality and all of those things just to get a bigger stone. So depends on how you want it to look.
Gina, we always come to
Exactly,
you
you
for
want
the
it.
common sense answer. What's your opinion on this?
I have no sense in this because I clearly, you don't see no ring on that.
Yeah, but you hope to be engaged one day. I mean, what are you hoping for? Yeah, look at Jay. She's got the
Look.
bling.
But no, I mean, this is like nothing, this is not the ring. These are regular rings. It got so flustered I lost my headset.
Yeah, you
My
did.
headset. For me, to me, I may be different in this way. It doesn't matter kind of to me. I mean, as long as the ring looks pretty.
But see,
I
as a
don't
guy,
necessarily need it to be like 18 karat, like this
Right.
huge diamond or anything like that. I think because I am older, it matters less. I mean, if it's sentimental, if it's something from family, even if it's like, my mom's ring, I could just wear that. It kind of doesn't matter to me. It really all depends on the person, I think.
Effort.
And
That's what I
the
want.
relationship.
yeah, and listen, I agree. And as a guy, I have friends that think both ways on this, guy friends, and I have girlfriends that think both ways on this. And listen, no, I'm not going to go down to Canal Street and get a 10-carat cubic zirconia, which would look mighty nice, by the way, if you didn't know it was cubic zirconia. But you know, I feel like as a guy, there is inherent pressure when buying a ring because I feel like women have certain expectations, and then they're comparing the ring to their friend's ring, and oh, he doesn't love me like he said he does because he only got me a 3-carat instead of a 5-carat. And her answer to that question, as much as we laugh about it, that was a serious answer to her question, and a lot of women feel that way.
She may want to put her own money towards it too.
Right.
That could have been what she kind of
and
meant.
there's no wrong answer here, and I'm not, saying one is wrong and one is right, but it's just very interesting to me how people think about this topic.
It's true.
Do you also think, though, I mean, if we're going to just bring it back to The Bachelor, do you also think that, women who are especially, these women's age have grown up watching The Bachelor and watching these women get huge Neil Lane rings?
Yeah.
Like it's the environment. It's our, it's popular culture. It all feeds into that. So,
Feeds the beast, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Some people think, well, I want the Neil Lane, whatever that like Charity got or whoever got, so I do feel like that feeds into it. But if you block that out and just focus on your relationship and your love and what that particular ring means, then I really don't think it matters how.
See, this is why Gina always provides the common sense answer here and gives us the proper perspective, because that's what it should be. Which brings me to my favorite girl, Carolina, because I think she is here for the right reasons. And I think, as much as you two don't like the drama that she brings to the table, I think that she has some insecurities, and we see this in her one-on-one date with Grant, which was very emotional. I found it to be very genuine, and Grant found himself, feeling a certain type of way for her because of what she's experienced in her life. And someone she's had epilepsy and has had an issue with seizures, and God knows we wouldn't wish that on anybody. But this is something that she's had to battle throughout her life. And I think she has an inherent insecurity because she talked about how she's had this as an issue in previous relationships where men have not been willing to stand by her through this. So I think that in turn, once you kind of got that understanding about her mindset, I think that explains a little bit why she is the way she is. Now, does she deliver the message in the best way? Probably not. But I do think as an observer of this, I think she is there for the right reasons, and I think she's very cautious about who she finds herself opening up to and giving herself to, given what she's experienced in her life thus far.
I don't think she's necessarily there for the wrong reasons, but I do think she takes every opportunity to make every situation about her. And she monopolizes everything. And I could see the other women being so frustrated with that because she already had a rose. She didn't need to take all that time.
Well, this is at their date, and she got the rose afterwards, Gina. But I know you have a strong opinion about Miss Carolina, and I feel like every show has to have a person like this, every Bachelor, Bachelorette, because it gives us something to talk about and gives us a reason to watch. But somehow I have a feeling you're going to agree with Jen on this and not me.
Yeah, you're right. You would be correct, sir. I mean, I don't necessarily agree. I mean, I do agree. Yeah, she's probably there for the right reasons. But I do feel like the way she goes about it is a little shady and a little manipulative. And I don't know whether that is a result of, not always getting what she wants out of relationships and people leaving her because they don't want to stand by her because of her epilepsy. And that was something that she had touched on with Grant. And this is her mechanism of like making sure everyone else looks so bad so she can look good. I don't know whether that's the case, but what she's doing is really just manipulating the situation, like doing it to the girls, doing it to Grant. It just leaves me like not liking her. I want to like her. I'm sure there are some great qualities about her. I want to like her, but I just find it more and more difficult as each episode passes.
And I can certainly see that side of it. And I think she is probably the most polarizing figure in this season thus far. I think we can all agree on that. We have to address the elephant in the room. Beverly went home sick, and it just kind of was glossed over in the episode. We hope that she's okay. We meant to ask Jesse about that, but we ran out of time, and I'm sure he's not at liberty to say too much about that anyway.
Get
but
well soon, Beverly.
Yeah, I mean, I just found it very interesting how that whole thing was glossed over, and maybe she comes back later this season. I don't know if she was far enough along that they'd allow her to come back, assuming that she's okay, and we really hope that she is.
Yeah, that was a big about face, and they're like, "Oh, mini group date, let's go." So I mean, it was a nice opportunity for the three women that he did select to go on that date, and I think they were able to take that date and turn it into a group date, at least the first half of it, in a really fun way. So
yeah, and the dog walking date, Gina, I know you were a big fan of that. I was waiting to see you walk by on the sidewalk because you have a tendency to pop up in these dates, walking your little golden doodle, walking by. I know, but they were going to give you one. Walking a golden doodle. I was waiting to see you in the background as one of the quote unquote extras. But
well, listen, if I'm gonna adopt a dog, it's gonna be from Vanderpump Dogs. I'm just saying.
There you go. And that was a nice cameo in this episode.
Yeah, it was. I loved it. I loved seeing Lisa Vanderpump. I loved her impression of Grant. I thought it was hilarious. She was just like, yeah, he who wouldn't love him, which is true because there are all these women fighting for him. I did love that date, and I liked the fact that he got to, just spend a little quality time with some people that he wanted to get to know better. It wasn't like picked for him. I think these are probably women that he said, here, I really want to get to know these women. And so I'm glad that he got that time.
And one of the women that stood out, Latia. And we agreed on this show that she was maybe one of the picks to win. And I think she only strengthened that belief based on what happened in this episode.
I was excited she got the dinner.
Yeah, and they were really vibing. I really like them.
He is moving quickly with her.
Yes.
I mean, he's not holding back. He's having these conversations with her about future stuff, about their past. He's getting into all of it. And I think it goes back to what Jesse said. He's taking it very seriously, and it was nice to see him get a glimpse into her world.
Yeah, and we got a glimpse into her relationship with her mom, Gina. I thought that was a really touching moment, too. And did this start with the Golden Series where the FaceTimes have now become, because before it's like the whole thing on The Bachelor, they're not allowed to have their phone, they're not allowed to communicate with the outside world, and now all of a sudden I feel like the Golden Series kind of opened the door for them to sneak in a FaceTime with mom.
Yeah, I mean, and I love that moment as well. I thought it was so sweet. I like that they're doing this, we like knowing their families and knowing their relationships, and you're seeing more of where they come from and how they became the people that they are. And I love that she got to chat with her, her mom. And thank you to the Goldens, because I do feel like that, them, doing that more for the Golden franchise, like really kind of is setting the tone now for everybody else. And I'm glad we get to see it.
Yeah, and I hope we see more of it, frankly.
Yeah. Nice.
I thought it was a very nice moment, and obviously Latia got a rose. So that puts us at Carolina and Latia, who I would argue are probably the top four to make it to Fantasy Suites and maybe beyond. I would put them in that category. So then we end with prom night, which, as we talked about with Jesse, a far cry from the prom night in the Golden Bachelorette with Joan and the guys. This one escalated quickly. Yes, Carolina was at the center of it, and we'll get into that in a second, but just to have, and Jesse talked about it, just to have our guys back from the Golden Bachelorette, it just was kind of a feel-good, heartwarming, and they walked in, and I even found myself going, oh,
yeah,
look, there's Jack. He's back on the grill, cooking burgers.
Warming.
Yeah.
He's so funny. Yeah, and I was saying I think I said this to Gina, I was like, I kind of wanted one of the girls to run off with Jonathan.
Heyo.
He's got a girlfriend.
Okay, who's single there? Because I was like, these guys are so
maybe
great.
Jonathan from Chicago they should have had up in there.
Oh, yeah. He could be a special
Or
guest.
Pascal would have been great to have back.
No.
Bonjour, mon amis.
No.
I think Jack and Keith are the single ones in that, and out of the ones that were there. So yeah,
Jack has great burger advice.
Yeah, I
He
was
does.
watching.
That was
I
so
love
neat.
that.
That was funny.
I love seeing Jack back on the grill. Although, Gina, I did find it interesting. And this may be me stirring the pot, which I've been known to do on this very podcast.
I don't know what you're talking
I
about.
did find
Stir
it
the pot?
interesting that they didn't use other men from Jen's season, a la Jeremy and some of the other guys that were with Grant, some of Grant's buddies, to come in for prom night. Or were they afraid that these guys were going to steal some of the girls?
You never
And then
know.
all of a sudden, see, even Jen says you never know. You're
Save it
shaking
for
your head.
paradise. Save it for
Save
paradise.
it for paradise. I
But
thought that
also,
would have been an
we
interesting
just
twist.
came off of Golden Bachelorettes. So
Right.
they end up the pies that are like most in our brains, you know what I mean? So, and they're just lovely. And they had a prom date on their show.
Yes.
So that was why the tie-in was there.
I love the tie-in. I just thought it would have been fun to see some of the guys a little more age appropriate in their wreaking havoc in the house. That would have been fun to see. But we'll say it for
Bachelor
paradise.
in Paradise, my friend.
Yeah,
That is
fine.
Bachelor in Paradise.
For Rose and Carolina's whole thing.
Yeah, well, of course we have time.
Do
We
we?
have time
Okay.
for it on the podcast. We've
Oh,
got all
gosh.
kind of time. We're going to be here all day, everybody. I know Dave is really excited about that. We're getting him a microphone so
Do
he
you-
can chime in next time.
Do you buy the whole thing about that she thought Grant said that he wished it was her? Do you think?
I have very strong opinions about this, and I know I defer to you two ladies typically,
No, what
but
is
I'm going
your
to take
opinion?
I'm going to
Yeah,
take the
please.
floor here. I think Rose clearly, whether she heard it or not, you can't say it to the person that he said it about and then not expect her to bring it up to him. It just cannot happen, and I don't understand it. And I literally was ready to throw my remote through the television. The fact that these women did not get that, especially Rose. If somebody is talking junk about you to the person who supposedly said it, you're just going to go there and put on a happy face and not act like everything's fine and act like everything's fine? Come on, that's not real life. And it just didn't make any sense to me how this drama all unfolded. The problem here was not Carolina, it was Rose, who clearly made something up and tried to sabotage her. And I had a real problem with that. And yes, I do like Carolina, but if this happened to any of the other women on the show, Dina or whoever, I would feel the same way. I thought that was BS on Rose's part, whether she heard it or not. Don't say it to the person that he said it about.
Yeah, why would you say it?
Yes, why would you say it? And Gina, as a woman, if somebody said to you, oh yeah, while you were dancing with so-and-so, he was thinking about me, of course you're going to be upset about that, and of course you're going to ask him about it. That's my take on it. I thought the whole thing was absolutely ridiculous.
I find it a little unfortunate that that whole conversation happened off camera. What I really would have loved was to hear the context and how it all went. You know, we don't know whether she said something in passing. She said it as a joke. We don't know. And so, to me,
I don't think it was a
it
joke
seemed-
because she said that that's what she thought he heard. So not
I
to
think
cut you
there
off,
was
but
probably
that's
alcohol involved.
there was probably alcohol
I'm sure
involved.
there was alcohol.
But this is honestly what she thought. And then she had the gall to say that to Carolina to kind of, I'm just going to say it, dull her sparkle, as the kids say. We don't want that.
Yeah.
I
Is that
thought
what the
that was,
kids
that's
say?
what the kids say. We're dull and sparkle. That's what David told me earlier.
Do you
That's
think-
what the kids are saying.
Do you think Grant reacted appropriately to what he was being told?
Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
did.
Okay.
Because if I was a guy, I'd be very upset for at Rose, and I'd feel bad for Carolina because it was a blatant lie. And as a guy who's, I'll be honest, who's been accused of saying things that he didn't say, you have to come up and defend yourself. And that's exactly what he did. And I had no problem with him calling out Rose for doing that because I thought it was Bush League.
Okay. But like he's like, Carolina, you should have come to talk to me about
Yeah,
this
he's
first."
right.
Yeah. Okay.
But Carolina did. Carolina did
True.
talk to him about it.
A lot.
And yeah, and you know, it was just one of those things. I agree with Gina. It was unfortunate, that we didn't get to see it on camera, and it was unfortunate that this whole thing came to light. But the fact that Rose thought that thought he said that and then said it to Carolina, and then we see in the trailers for next week, you did me dirty. No, she didn't. You did this to yourself.
Yeah.
If anybody takes Rose's side in this, I don't know what to tell you, but I would have handled it exactly how Carolina did and exactly how Grant did, Gina, and I want your take on it.
Do we think perhaps that Carolina embellished the situation with Grant because we have seen her do it already.
I don't think so. I think she's been real with Grant. She may embellish things with the ladies, but I think she was so upset and taken aback by this. And as females, you ladies can jump in on this. If a guy is saying that he's thinking about somebody else, Jen, you're shaking your head. If your husband told you that,
Oh
of
my
course
God.
you would.
No,
Yes,
I would
you
have
would
to
flip
find
out.
Well, I would want to know the answer to those questions. Yes, but I think the only problem I had with Carolina was just her complaining about like I didn't get enough time to figure him out yet, and blah blah blah, and all this stuff. You've got more time than anybody else, so just shut it for now. But this situation, yeah, I would have to find out what was going on and what was said. And you don't want to invest time in somebody who is thinking about somebody else, that's for sure.
But also, we are in episode 3, and there are how many women there? Of course, he's going to be thinking about other women.
No, when he's
Like, I'm
kissing you.
sorry.
Yeah, but the fact
course
is
he's
he
gonna be
didn't
thinking
say
about
it.
other
Whether he really is thinking it, the point is Rose made this whole thing up. And yes, alcohol was probably involved. They were drinking, and clearly she thought that she heard something that she didn't, and the whole thing just got blown way out of proportion. All that to say, back to the prom. Grant is the prom king. All the ladies got crowns. Tiaras? What do we call them? Tiaras, crowns?
Whatever. It was sweet.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown. So we go from 14, really 13, because Beverly unfortunately went home sick. 13 down to 10 as Chloe, Bailey, and Allie Joe were eliminated. I liked Bailey. I thought they had a little something going on. I was surprised to see her get sent home. Chloe, I felt like didn't get a fair shot. I thought they could have had a little something, and I was not upset to see Allie Joe go home.
Agree on those.
Oh,
And
we are in agreement.
yeah, I agree on your assessment there. I thought Bailey would stick around a little longer. She's funny and
Yeah, they had a good rapport.
Yeah, I think he was looking for someone a little more serious. She was on the younger side, I believe. So, yeah.
And it kind of goes back to Alicia last week, where we thought she was going to get a rose and didn't, and things just happen, and that's that. And then next week we get the trailer. They go to Spain next week, Madrid. And we get the whole Rose Carolina drama coming to a head, and that will give us plenty to talk about. That goes without saying. And a bonus question, we even get Joey's thoughts on that. Joey, why am I still thinking back to Joey? Jesse.
I don't know. I was like, are we getting Joey's thoughts on that?
Joey Graziadei.
Yeah.
Putting in his dancing shoes and coming back on playing the field. We get
That's right.
Jesse's
Yes,
thoughts
there you
on the Carolina and Rose drama for next week, and we can't wait to bring that discussion to you. But this was a fun discussion here, ladies. We went from prom to engagement rings and all the stuff in between. So we always enjoy these conversations, and they have a life of their own. And we had a great conversation with Jesse Palmer. We can't thank him enough for being here. And if you like our podcast, what do you need to do, Jen?
Like and follow.
Like and follow us. We're playing the field. We're so happy you're with us, and we can't wait to be here with you next week for another episode. We'll see you then.